Welcome to the HRIS Careers Podcast with your host, Troy Wallace, a podcast for human resources information systems professionals to help you elevate your HRIS career. We always say no one gets into HRIS on purpose, but it sure is interesting to find out how they did. We interview your HRIS peers to find out how they got tricked into the industry and what lessons and tools they use to progress their careers along the way. We discuss industry trends, AI, and even talk candidly about all the most popular HRIS platforms. Just think of it as the closest bar just outside the entrance of your favorite HR technology conference. Now you get it. Welcome in. Welcome to the HRIS Careers Podcast, broadcasting as usual live from the beautiful studios in downtown Omaha, Nebraska. So we're going to get right into it. We got an email yesterday from a very reliable source. We could have probably scooped the world, but unfortunately I had to work. So we didn't get to it till today. But if you haven't been hiding under a rock, it probably hit your news feed at some point yesterday. But Workday is cutting 1,750 jobs. It's going to be a pretty raw reaction because I'm on an email list from a good industry analyst who clues us into things pretty early normally. He doesn't allow me to share his information, but if you want to email me at troy.wallace@HRISCareers.com, I can probably get you on the email list privately. But anyways, let's dig into it. We're just going to unpack everything that's happening with the Workday layoff, what this means for HRIS professionals, and if you've been impacted by the layoff yourself, what can you do next? Because to be real, in the HR tech world, change is constant, but that doesn't make it any less stressful when it happens. Certainly, if you know somebody at Workday, let them know about HRISCareers.com, where we're posting jobs pretty consistently. People looking for HRIS skill sets, and Workday is typically pretty in demand still. All right, grab a coffee. If you're listening after hours, maybe you want something a little stronger, and let's get into it. So what Workday said, and maybe more importantly, what they didn't say. So we'll start with the facts. Internal Workday email from leadership framed this as a restructuring to align resources with evolving customer needs, particularly around AI. Maybe they're all speaking from the same script because we're starting to hear this more often. My take is, and what I hear, and I love the Prof G podcast, shout out to Prof G. He talks about a lot of companies that are just slowing their hiring because maybe they can do with their existing workforce because they're becoming so much more productive, they don't necessarily need to hire. He talks a lot about them slowing their hiring process, especially for new grads, just because they're able to get so much more done with AI that they don't have to add new headcount. Anyways, we'll get back to it. So they're cutting jobs, but they say they are continuing to hire in what they call key strategic areas. So U.S. employees will get at least 12 weeks of severance. Not bad, not great. I think most people probably want to keep their job, plus whatever stock vesting they have, career services, other support, which is pretty basic in layoffs. So now on paper, this sounds structured and strategic, but here's the thing. Companies don't tend to lay off that many people, so it's nearly 2,000 people, unless they're feeling some pressure. So now, obviously, they're spinning this as future focus, which I get, but there's some competitors out there. There's more companies able to do payroll. I think Deal is going public next year. There's definitely a growing cadre of competitors out there that are probably slowly, and we're just talking HRIS. I know Workday has ERP type of functionality, finance, etc. But there are companies that are starting to erode into the big enterprise players, SAPs, Workdays, Oracle's playground. All right, so let's just go through a few things that stand out. So obviously the emphasis is on AI. Every layoff you've seen that over the last 18 months is talking about AI reshaping the HR tech space, but shifting the focus means existing roles become redundant. Is that true? I'm not sure. It says that they're expanding their global footprint, which could mean they're doing more jobs, especially for cost savings. And if you're in the HRIS industry, which most of us are, there's a lot more offshoring. If you're in consulting, that you are competing in a global economy at this point because more and more companies, especially after COVID, if people are not going to be in the offices, why not offshore to a less expensive resource? I get that. This is the restructuring will continue into 2026. And that means that maybe this isn't the last layoff we're going to see out of Workday. If you're working in HR tech, especially for Workday, this is obviously something to watch closely. I still see quite a bit of demand for Workday in the consulting world. The rates are staying pretty steady, but obviously this is maybe a canary in the coal mine. All right, so what does this mean for HRIS as an industry? We'll zoom out a little bit. Workday obviously has been a dominant force in enterprise HRIS for years. When a major vendor like this restructures, it certainly raises some questions. Number one, are companies spending less on HR tech? If big enterprise customers are tightening budgets, Workday could be feeling the pressure. Is AI actually replacing jobs? The email suggests Workday is re-engineering processes and investing in AI. Are we starting to see some automation making certain HRIS roles obsolete? Company at Workday, I wouldn't say it's necessarily HRIS roles, but obviously they're a big company, and if they can automate their back-end processes, back-of-the-house processes with AI, certainly they're going to do it. Question number 3, will other vendors follow suit? Workday isn't the only HRIS company making moves. We saw UltiPro or UKG last year in that botched layoff where it was leaked a night before anybody knew about it, went out to an email list. We do have an episode on that we'll link in the show notes. So for HRIS professionals, it certainly means staying informed, adaptable. If your company runs Workday, it's worth asking how this impacts your support and future upgrades. I'm not so worried about that. If you are a Workday shop, I'm more in the Oracle ecosystem. But if you're in the Workday ecosystem, that may be questions that you want to ask. Where are these layoffs coming from? And finally, if you've been laid off or are worried about it. So if you're one of the 1,750 impacted Workday employees, hearts go out to you. I know that's rough. I've been involved in, I think, 2 layoffs. Not fun. If you've got a job waiting or if you were considering taking another job anyways, maybe it's like a 3-month bonus with the severance. But I know for most people that is a tough thing to go through. So layoffs stink. Again, even with the severance package, it's stressful. But I've talked to a lot of HRIS professionals over the years, and I can tell, in a lot of these moments, as tough as they are, sometimes they often lead to some unexpected growth. I think there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese? That's happened to me at least 3 different times as certain software goes out of vogue and you've got to go learn something new. And sometimes it's a forced transition. But for me, and I'm going through one of those right now, it's always been positive in the long run, although short-term pain, long-term gain, I guess they say. So here's what I'd recommend if you're in that position. Obviously, take advantage of Workday's career support, whatever they're offering. It's there for a reason. Some other basics, update your LinkedIn profile, network. Mark Williams was a LinkedIn expert that was on an episode at the end of the year last year. Go listen to that. He was great about talking how to get more visible in a positive way on LinkedIn. Certainly let people know that you're looking. Of course, stay close to the industry news. HR tech space is always shifting. There's going to be opportunities popping up, unexpected places. One company is losing market share, another one's gaining. So maybe Deal or HiBob or Paradox. Certainly email me. I'm happy to share any insight that I have on companies that are growing since I follow the news pretty closely. Again, it's troy.wallace@HRISCareers.com. Go over to HRISCareers.com. Register for the job alerts. We're always posting jobs out there. You can register a profile, and we do have some recruiters that come in and look at those profiles, so certainly take advantage of that. If you're not affected, but you're still feeling uneasy, certainly use this as a nudge to update your resume, explore more skills, get up to date on AI and automation, since that's where the world is going, and think about what's next in your career. My final thoughts, what's next? Where does this leave us? Workday is certainly reshaping itself for the AI era, but with that comes some growing pains. So this layoff is a big moment in HR tech, and how Workday handles it will certainly shape how other big vendors handle it as well. Again, if you have been affected, know that you're not alone. There are certainly more opportunities out there. I've thrown my email address out there a couple times. Always certainly happy to help where I can. I try and keep the pulse of the HRIS market and can help lead you to hopefully greener pastures. Certainly love to hear your thoughts. If you're seeing this on YouTube or on Spotify and you can make a comment, certainly let me know. Do you see this as a smart move for Workday, necessary? Are you worried about more layoffs in HR tech? Let me know if you found this episode helpful. Share it with a friend or colleague. We certainly appreciate it. Again, this was our attempt to scoop the news and get ahead of some of the other podcasts. We certainly appreciate you listening. And for the HRIS Careers community, we'll talk to you all later.
Here we go.